What happens when a warrior turns into a wisdom weaver? Today's guest has built leaders, cultures, and tree houses. Buckle up for a ride into the world of combat, coaching, and curiosity. Welcome to another candid, courageous edition of Tipsy Thursdays. Today's guest is not just a soldier, but a soulful storyteller with over 3.5 decades of shaping lives, from commanding troops to coaching CXOs. Colonel Patanjali Puri brings a rare blend of structure, spirit, and self discovery. With over 200 high impact interventions and thousands coached, he still finds time to build tree houses and ride solo across some of the world's most beautiful terrains. Let's go ahead and meet this maverick who believes leadership begins from within. Hi, Patanjali. Welcome to the show. It's such good fun, hooking up with you on this platform of Tipsy Thursdays of my talk show, Tipsy Talks. And I hope in the next 20 to 25 to 30 minutes, I and the audience will get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you, Tipsy. Wonderful to be on this show and to be chatting with you.
All right, Pats, I can call you Pats, right? The last time, when we were both in uniform, I've seen you as a dashing, commanding officer, with nothing but, combat readiness and effectiveness on your mind. Now I see you, as a teacher, as a guru of experiential learning. So this is quite a transformation. So what has inspired this transformation, Patanjali, from leading men in combat to leading organizational change in complex corporate structures? Tell us about it.
The first part about the transition. Well, life was going great. One had certain professional aspirations, and they were more than adequately met. And then an existential question kind of popped up in my head: what next? Is it the path that I want to continue to follow, or could there be more to life?
Okay.
So fundamentally, I would put it this way: it was perhaps an acute sense of curiosity and I would say hunger for change that gave rise to that question. And that was the time when I decided to kind of step out and explore other dimensions of life. But if you ask me honestly, did I have a plan? What is it that I'm going to do after I get out? Honestly, not.
Okay.
So what I got into and where I am now, it rather happened very organically. It was through very natural, I would say, evolution process.
Right.
Of course, there was a larger intent and a desire to work with human beings, to work with people, because that's something very close to my heart.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's wonderful. And let me share it with the audience. This gentleman here, looking so naive on the screen, is has been a maverick all through his life, and we will get to know more about his characteristics a little later in the show. All right. In your teachings, you coach corporate guys, right? And you always state that leadership, begins from within oneself, right? So, could you share a moment with us when inner transformation led to tangible external change in someone, in one of the subjects that you coached or many subjects that you coached? Would there be an instance like that?
Tipsy, I coach through two models. One is one-on-one executive coaching, and another is, of course, group coaching,
Right.
which kind of flows into what is called the group processes or experiential learning. And let me tell you that experiential learning is something which perhaps nobody can come out of this processes untouched,
All right.
because
Okay.
it's not because of the people who conducted it, it's because of the strength of the process. So whosoever that I work with using or deploying the experiential learning methodology broadly have with your humility come out of the processes certainly impacted. It may not always be transformational, because transformation is a function of various things: the duration for which you're working, the expectations of the client, the time that you invest into it, the dynamics of the group that you're working with, so on and so forth. However, invariably, whenever you work in an embodied learning process, it's very hard for one to come out of it, I would say, unimpacted. So, based on the feedback that I've received, it has been very, very satisfying to hear from them that not only the people who claim that they were impacted, it's also their seniors and managers who come back saying that they have seen changes in the people. But there is one interesting story that I would like to share. It happened some years back. I was working with a large organization,
Okay.
and it was a 3-day offsite workshop. And there is a group, and I think 10, 15, 20 people there. And there was one guy, invariably in various groups, you'll find there is one rebel, always who's on a tangent where
Yeah.
everyone says we'll go north. This guy says no, we'll go south. And
I would
that
like to call him,
behavior kind of
That's, I would like to call him a maverick.
okay. But in the right sense. But there are
Okay.
some mavericks who happen to be just mavericks for the heck of it. So
Correct.
this behavior started manifesting itself right from the beginning of the offsite. And I noticed it. The HR head comes and says, look, this guy is a serious problem. We don't know what to do with him. This is a pattern that we see.
All right.
Uh, of course, we worked for 3 days and I did whatever that I had to do. And the workshop got over. And about a week later, I get a call from the manager of this guy who says, look, Patanjali, I want to talk to you. I said, yeah, please go ahead. He says, what have you done to this guy?
Hmm.
He said, no, I was a little worried. I said, did he go and shoot someone or did he commit suicide? Or
Okay.
saying this guy says, this guy is completely changed. I
Wow.
don't know what is it that you have done to him, but then I see he's not the same anymore. Uh, but let me say that the credit for that goes to the man because somewhere I think in the process he must have experienced something which prompted and encouraged him to change himself, and that is how it happens. So it can, you never know, it can be transformational for some, even in a short time, but for others it takes longer. But then once again, at the cost of repetition, you cannot get out of an experiential learning process
Okay.
untouched in a way.
Excellent. Excellent. No, taking this thread of transformation a little further, how can today's young professionals consciously build the right workplace culture and align it with the core values of, and the vision of the company that they're working for? How do they do that?
Youngsters, new entrants, young professionals building the culture. The honest answer is it's very difficult. I'll
Okay.
tell you why. We'll
All
have to
right.
understand culture. Culture is like Tipsy. It's like a mountain stream, right? It
Okay.
has a flow,
Untamed.
right? It goes in a certain way, and
Okay.
what defines the direction and the flow of the stream is the lay of the ground.
Right.
And metaphorically speaking, the lay of the ground is decided by the leadership. So
Okay.
it's the leaders who create and define the culture of an organization. The leaders define the culture, and people do what the leaders do. So
Absolutely.
this is how it flows. But does that mean that the new professionals or young professionals have no say in the culture? No, I'm not saying that. They can make a huge difference in creating the right culture as long as they have a critical mass.
Okay.
So the first step is about building the critical mass.
Okay.
And for that to happen, one has to be very clear about one's own values and beliefs, and how closely do they kind of align with the culture of the organization that they're joining in.
Johnny.
So
Understood.
to me, that's more important than wanting to go and change the culture. It's more important to figure out for yourself how well are you personally aligned in terms of your values and beliefs with
Okay.
the values and the culture of the organization that you're intending to join. As
Okay.
long as there is that alignment, you will float and you will thrive. Otherwise, you will either be ejected by that stream or you will drown. So
Absolutely.
that's important to figure out. And once you're in there, once you've got a footing, that's a time, I think, where you can start making a difference and creating the right culture is about learning to say yes and no. More importantly, the latter, learning to say no when
No.
and where it is needed.
Understood.
That's something which, in my experience, I've seen many people struggling with.
Okay.
But then that's a long and short of it. One has to put one's foot down in an appropriate manner. I'm not saying no at a gunpoint. It's about now
Understood. Okay.
substantiating your no with facts,
Yeah.
figures, and data, and then you will start making a change in the culture. And mind
Absolutely.
you, speaking again based on my experience, I won't be judgmental about the culture of an organization. It's about what the majority has accepted to be. So I've
Okay.
worked with organizations which are absolutely angelic as well as devilish in their cultures, if you
All
may
right.
so call them, and
Okay.
still people lining up to work for them. That's
Okay.
interesting.
Okay.
So the struggle is you figuring out what is it that you're getting into. Are you aligned to it? Are you willing to kind of flow with it? As long as that happens, you're good. So
Okay.
that's my take on culture and how is it that the young professionals should approach this concept of culture.
Excellent. I think that's very well answered. And the youngsters here, who are listening to it will have a lot to gain from it and actually transform themselves. All right. You tell us that you're making, you make your learning, the way you teach, full of fun, and it is both experiential and engaging. So, how do you balance fun and depth while developing leaders? How do you make the balance?
That's very interesting, Tipsy. The fundamental starting point of any experiential learning or embodied learning process is to get people into a childlike state.
Okay.
And when you're into the childlike state, you would agree that one is in one's natural flow,
Okay.
right? And there are not many masks. And that is where this process is extremely relevant for leadership learning. I'll tell you why. There are different methodologies which people deploy for enabling leaders, but then you would agree, sitting in a Harvard workshop, one can rattle out loads of wisdom that one might have cognitively picked up
Yeah.
and look very wise. But then experiential learning is a space where you can see the difference between what one knows and what one does.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So that is where the separation happens between cognitive wisdom and your behaviors.
Right.
So that is where I find that this methodology is extremely potent to help leaders to get in touch with their true selves, peel off their masks. And mind you, many a times it's not that they're intending to be so. End of the day, the leaders have been there, done that. They don't have much to prove. But then, more often than not, the leaders are leaders because they have delivered tangible outcomes.
Okay.
And obviously, they would have been held accountable for their deliveries. But many a times, in most of the organizations, while it's easy to hold people accountable for their business results, it's rare that people hold the leaders accountable for their behaviors.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that is where the difference comes in. That is where experiential learning will surface certain behaviors that leader himself or herself may not be in touch with, which is having a certain impact on the people that is working with.
Absolutely.
So that is where this experiential learning and rewarding learning processes come and support people who use them in helping leaders unmask themselves, go through some deep reflective processes, ask difficult questions to themselves and to the peers, and seek support. It's lowly up there. You would agree to see at the top leadership space,
Absolutely.
and it's not easy for people to seek help. But
Yeah.
once you're practically kind of naked in a process like this, then the inhibitions are likely to go down, and one feels okay that the vulnerability surfaces, and one is okay to kind of say, okay, if this is what am I doing, what is it that I can do to change this? And that is how I deploy the experiential learning processes when I'm working with the leaders. But mind you, Tipsy, again, it's important to understand a true blue experiential learning engagement is very different from the classical team building workshops
Okay.
that many
Okay.
of the trainers kind of roll out, and which is all about activity processing. You put people through a certain process, observe them, and then hammer them with, you did not do this, you should have collaborated. But then everybody knows they should have collaborated, they should have empathized. But when you do deep processes, you know what is it that blocks people, the leaders, from practicing these behaviors.
Okay.
And if done right, the impact that it creates, especially for the leader, they may know things, but they do not may not be practicing many a things. So that kind of bridges the gap beautifully. That is how I deploy this process, and that's where I found them very useful for leadership engagements.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, that's a very lucid, detailed definition that you've given to us, and we will definitely gain from this. All right. So I'm told there are four approaches that you include in your teaching. One is visual thinking, then is the NLP, that is neuro linguistic, then is the pranic healing, and the last one is yoga. That's right.
Uh, yes, partially.
Okay, okay. So no, I will expect you to refine this further. My question is that these four are seemingly quite different and distinct disciplines in themselves. So how do they combine together to create transformation that you desire in your subjects?
Sure, Tipsy. It kind of connects to what I was trying to say in my response to your previous query. So it's a toolkit, right? And these are the tools and resources which are available to you as a coach, consultant, facilitator. and not a trainer. A trainer would only need one methodology, which is activity processing. But for you to be actually making a true difference, one has to have a large repertoire of resources available. And some of the things that you have mentioned, and many more that I deploy in my work, enable me to not only look at what is happening, it's more about why is it happening this way.
Okay. Okay.
And that is where psychometric assessments or knowledge of organizational behavior or the OD processes come in play.
Okay.
So therefore, the larger the toolkit, more enabled you are to get to the root of the issues, which are not otherwise easy to kind of fathom. Just the range of skills that I had no choice but to invest in and pick up. And
Okay.
in the journey of 15 years, because somewhere I felt blocked. I was not able to figure out why is it happening this way. So therefore, I had to learn new skills, pick up new tools,
All right.
which remove that parallax and help me in going to the depth of the issues. And that is how this toolkit has kind of widened,
Okay.
including some of the things that you mentioned. And there's another thing. See, every individual has a different learning style. And therefore, the wider is your toolkit, more easy it is for you to pick up the right tool which will work for a person who has a certain learning style or understanding. And therefore, this is how this range of things helps me into figuring out what would be the right resource that I should deploy with the right person under the right circumstance to go to the depth of the issue that one is struggling with. Otherwise, for a trainer, it is like you having a hammer and looking for a nail all the time. So just one hammer won't do.
Understood. Understood. Talking of repertoire, Pats, you yourself have a very, very wide repertoire. You know, you are an excellent athlete. You've been a rower. You roam the countryside and the world side. I have names like Uttarakhand, Leh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and even Georgia now, where we saw those excellent photographs coming from you. You are a splendid artist, yourself, and the beauty that you created next to that lake in Pune in the form of your tree house is just too good to be believed. So, I mean, what parallels do you see between long distance biking and all these interests that you follow and coaching leaders? Do they assist you or do they conflict? What is the situation like?
Actually, these are some of the practices which can widen my own horizon of understanding life.
Right.
If you're on one track, you will only see what is on that track. But fortunately, by nature, I have traversed a variety of tracks, so it kind of widens my horizon, understanding of human beings. That's one. The second thing is it's a lot about experimentation, entering uncharted territories every time. Like when I was building a tree house, I had not built one before, so or doing paper mache or doing woodworking. You have to start somewhere, so that initial barrier. So I've been pushing myself to explore and try new things every time.
Excellent.
So that's one. And similarly, biking happened when at some point in time, having worked with an organization for 7 years, I had enough and I said, no, I have to be on my own. So
Okay.
first thing I did was to go out on a 30 days of a solo bike ride through Uttarakhand.
Okay.
It gave me that space for transition and that important moment for reflection. I was seeking solitude, which perhaps would have been difficult to achieve. So I chose what came naturally to me to get on a bike and go out on a 30 days ride.
Right.
So coming back to how does it relate to my work and how I can use it when I'm working with leadership, besides many other things some of which I've already shared with you, two things that happen when you're on a solo ride is your experience of solitude and lots of loneliness.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure you know the two are very different.
Yes.
See, the challenge with leadership today is that solitude that they do not get.
Okay.
While there is so much of activity happening all around them, 24 hours or less, but there are hardly any moments when they are truly with themselves.
Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
one learning that I picked up when I'm on my bike ride is that one-on-ones that you have with yourself when you are on a long road with hundreds of kilometers to your destination and no distractions, but only and you can have some very deep conversations with yourself, unravel some mysteries, decode some of the things that are happening inside your head. and maybe face your devils and demons. That is what one thing that I picked up, which I suggest to my clients when I'm working with leaders, is to find a moment of solitude for themselves. And if they
Okay.
can make it into a practice, which could obviously need not be a 30 days of solo ride, but even 30 minutes or 15 minutes out of those 24 hours when they are with themselves is
Okay.
one thing. The
Right.
second thing is loneliness. It's a reality, Tipsy, that leaders are lonely, whether they accept it, like it, or hate it. But then it's part of the package. If they've got there, it is perhaps the price that one has to pay for it, and therefore one has to have the capacity to deal with that loneliness and also see how is it that he can reduce it. While there might be more, but these are two, I think, very significant things that I see that my rights have exposed me to, which I attempt to share with the people that I work with, especially the leaders.
Excellent. I think you worded it so beautifully. It is so touching and it is so, inspiring to listen to these words coming from you, Pat. Okay, now time for these solitudes and loneliness are over because we are in for a rapid fire round. It's called Tipsy's 10. And let's see how Colonel Patanjali Puri, unbuttoned in this signature segment. All right, the first question coming your way. I'm going to shoot from the hip. Please give an answer, yes or no, or very brief, succinct answers. Okay, the first thought when you hear the word uniform.
कहीं दाग ना लग जाए.
That's a beautiful one. All right, the next one. One behavior you cannot stand.
Inauthenticity.
Very well done. Okay, the next one. Coaching or combat, right? Which one do you consider as a tougher terrain?
I can't answer in one word. Both are battles of different kinds. One is a hard battle, other is a soft battle. Coaching is a battle. Yeah,
Okay,
you're dealing with emotions and feelings and some very very sensitive areas. So
right.
both are battles and both are equally difficult to fight.
Okay, all right. We'll let you get away with that answer. All right. The next one is, and any unforgettable engagement with your client, which you don't forget.
Oh yes, there's one that bombed. So should I elaborate if you allow
Yeah,
me?
yeah. Very, very briefly, please.
So it was a top leadership team, 7 people, including the founder, 500 crores company.
All right.
And they engaged me for 3.5 hours, which is too short. I bit off more than what I could have chewed.
Okay.
So where things went wrong was, of course, I take ownership that I did not get the right sense of what is it that they were seeking. But having said that, what happened in those 3.5 hours was life changing personally for me because I understood the leadership dynamics, the power play, how one leader can influence the minds of 7 other reportees under him. It was amazing.
All
Though I
right.
didn't invoice that client, but I think I gained phenomenally from this engagement.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. The next one, a book every leader must read.
There are many. What I recommend is the one called The Tao of Leadership.
Okay. Okay.
Or this could be a book that those leaders who believe in leadering and not leading should not read. They'll get
Okay.
confused.
Okay. That's another interesting topic. We don't have time for that today, but that's an interesting one to come back to and have a detailed discussion on that. That'll be quite interesting for the audience. Next one, weirdest place where you have coached someone.
Under a tree at my farm.
All right, that's nice. Okay, what fuels you more, riding solo or helping others grow?
Again, tough one. Both
Okay,
do because one kind of loops into the other. What I learn in my solo rides is what I bring to the table for the people that I work with.
excellent. We'll take that as an answer. Next, one thing military life has taught you that corporate life still needs.
Brotherhood and bonhomie, where you are willing to take bullets for each other.
Okay, okay. All right, coming to the penultimate one. If not a facilitator, what would Patanjali Puri be?
A DIY handyman, perhaps?
All right, one last one, and it has to do with your maverick streak. One place you still want to ride to.
Easy. Northeast, it is still pending. I'm waiting maybe by end of the year.
All right. So we are drawing close to the end of this conversation now. Two quick questions for the benefit of the young professionals who are listening in to you and are waiting for some words of wisdom. What advice would you offer to young professionals feeling lost in the noise and humdrum of today's modern work life?
Modern work life. This is a baffling one. I've been struggling with this. I'll give you a very simple answer.
Right.
The answer is find work which sustains your life and then chalk out a life for yourself, which is supported by the kind of work that you pick up. I tell you, where does it come from? The problem, the noise that you're talking of is where we want chit and pat both coming to us equally. It doesn't happen. So there will be work, and when they join corporates, there delivery matters, right? You have to deliver results or you will be replaced. So therefore, at some point in time, sooner or later, one has to face the reality that there are no action without consequences. So, and there are no rewards without effort. So if you are looking for high rewards, maybe monetary, you have to put in effort. And if you're looking for a peaceful, happy life, then one has to be fair and more rational about what is it that you are going to get at the end of it. So I think that clarity is very important. Decide for yourself as to what is it that you're seeking, and then chalk out your life plan accordingly. Chit bhi pat bhi is not going to work.
Not going to work. So, what you're hinting at is that they need to go in for a good work-life balance. That's it, right? But
I'm saying this in a different way. I'm saying figure out what the definition of that balance is. Right. Problem is that there is no balance in the expectations. We want to work in an organization from 9 to 5, and we want to earn a salary which is in maybe 6 figures.
6 figures
or more.
Understood.
Somewhere we have to reconcile.
Understood. I think the young guys over there would be listening to you very intently and would stand to gain from whatever the advice that you've given them right now. One last question, which applies to everybody now. How can one discover their purpose in life and remain aligned despite the chaos?
Okay, this is another tough one, and I'm tempted to give a very philosophical answer to it, but that's not my style.
Okay.
Okay, so all that one has to do is to again, I might go philosophical. It's that one has to decide what is it that you are passionate about, what is it that bring you money, what is it that will make a difference to the universe, and if you can find something which kind of meets all the 3 4 requirements, you are there. You know what am I hinting at? Is not something that I have brought up. The
Absolutely.
Japanese figured it out many years back, many centuries back, which is called the Ikigai. Is it philosophical? Is it something not practical? No, it is very much practical and it works. And I'm speaking from personal experience. At the same time, I don't want to make it too complex for the young professionals, especially. Because what your purpose in life is a function of at what stage is this question asked. If you would have asked me what my purpose of life is when I was 24 years old, my response would have been very different to what it is going to be today.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, the better thing would be to ask yourself what is it the short-term goal that you have for yourself, which relates to what we said earlier. What is it that you are passionate about, and if you pursue this, will it bring bread on the table? If it does, I think you have begun well. And then you keep on expanding the scope. Is it really making a difference to the rest of the universe or the world as you progress? So the long and short of it is that be very practical and be very rational and grounded about deciding what is it that gives you that peace and happiness at the end of the day. What pulls you out of the bed every day? If you can figure that out, I think you're good to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks a ton, Patanjali. It's been such a pleasure talking to you for the last 25 odd minutes. And talking with you has been very informative and interesting at the same time. And, I and the audience have, come to know a different side to the personality called Patanjali Puri. The youngsters out there and everybody else listening to this show would benefit tremendously from whatever you exchange with us right now. Thank you so very much for being on the show. Thanks a lot, Pat.
Thank you, Tipsy. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. From battlefields to boardrooms, Colonel Patanjali Puri has shown us today that true leadership is not about commanding others, but truly understanding oneself. And in between coaching, he's taught us how to build tree houses of trust and ride into the unknown with curiosity and courage. Until next Thursday, keep it real, keep it tipsy. Jai Hind.